the series is starting. We are prepared, so there's good news. Let's begin the series between Alchemixt and Realz and find out who's going to get one step closer to that WEC finals in September. It looks like it's going to be the Hunter to start off for Alchemixt. And meanwhile, we will see the Druid for Realz. Good call.
This looks like a mid-range Hunter, too. Explosive Trap is still one of those cards that I don't feel good about running anymore, simply because Egg exists. I just don't want a card in my deck that activates my opponent's 0/2 for them, that turns into a 4/4. Like, I want them to have to do that hard work, not me. Am I the only one? Am I the only one?
No, you're certainly not the only one, but you're the only one with a platform like this to kind of broadcast his opinion. So,
well, this is the second Explosive Trap we've seen this tournament so far, too.
Yeah. We saw Firebat also run one, too.
Yeah, so there's at least 2 players who disagree with me.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's about, I don't know, 18,000 people in chat who disagree with me.
How many people are watching?
I don't know, probably. I mean, I'm assuming there's at least some people that agree with me, right?
Sure.
Come on.
I think we can agree at least that this Harvest Golem Innervate is a good play.
Yeah, there's not really much else he can do. So you just play the Harvest Golem and then Hero Power and then another Harvest Golem. So it's a lot of damage that starts adding up, and then he wants to make the push to Savage War. We haven't seen if he's token or if he's sort of the regular mid-range Druid deck yet, though. So that's something to consider.
Sure.
Not an exciting tracking.
Not really, just because Kodo doesn't really often pick up good value that often against Druid. There is Keeper, there is Harvest Golems, there is the Haunted Creepers, and maybe an Argent Squire. But even then, it's not very often where it can be very consistent. So
there's Keeper. I agree with taking Animal Companion, though. It's easily the best card of the 3.
Okay, well, Alchemixt can push out something here with the Animal Companion and the coin. Or you can also choose to just be really passive, save the coin for really good uses when he picks up more powerful draws.
I wouldn't mind seeing an Owl here, actually. Owl's hard to use, and one of the things it's going to do is it's going to make sure that this Harvest Golem isn't picking up too much more. And something that you're looking forward to is the ability to just curve into using Houndmaster effectively. So if he's not able to use Houndmaster effectively, it really takes a lot of the power out of this deck, especially when he's already got to draw this way.
I think the downside of Animal Companion can be so big, though. If you draw the Huffer, it can be super bad, just because if your opponent's able to respond to it immediately, able to take it out. It's just really difficult to deal with.
You know, here's the other thing to consider is, what's his turn 3 look like when he chooses to use Animal Companion here? His turn 3 seems like it's pretty weak.
Well, he wants to obviously silence the Owl and kill it before the Harvest Golem is able to do it. So that was the game plan, rather than kind of do it retroactively and then have the Owl die immediately. So in that respect, Alchemist has a plan. I'm not sure exactly what it looks like to Realz, but it seems like he has a natural 3-drop lined up, maybe second on Animal Companion or something.
Ooh, Freezing Trap. Freezing Trap's not a bad one.
Well, there's 2 ways to deal with these Harvest Golems then.
I kind of like Freezing Trap here a lot. Ironbeak Owl will kind of help ensure that you get another minion on the board, though, but it does make you a little bit weaker to swipe.
The more I think about it, I think the more Freezing Trap's important, just to kind of set the tempo out of whack for your opponent.
Yep.
Especially if he does have swipe, I think it's a really good hedge bet. Like, I'm using more terms that you like to use, so.
Well, I mean, hedge is it's a good term, right? That's what you're that's exactly what you're doing.
And it's a good alliteration to poker as well.
Investing in general.
So he's going to go and just try to clear immediately, which is very important. Coming up on a Houndmaster turn, you just don't want to give your opponent an opportunity to kind of build what it has.
Ooh, he's not going to be able to prevent that one, though.
Yeah.
Well, he can, but he's not going to
Savage Roar.
He's not going to Savage Roar this, I don't think. I think this is a very easy Harvest Golem turn. Of course, he draws Wrath to make it not so easy anymore. But I still think it's a pretty easy Harvest Golem turn.
You like Harvest over the Yeti?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Yeti gives you a really clean 6 if you want. You can either play the Argent Commander or you can play the Yeti and use Wrath. But if you play the Harvest Golem, your opponent doesn't have any good minions to target. So like in this position, Kill Command's great on Chill and Yeti, but The kill command's not good on any of the minions the other way around, and it also makes your turns a little bit cleaner. Like I don't think you're just trying to pressure your opponent out of the game. There's still a little bit of a battle to be made here. But this Yeti, what that tells me though is that he wants to start taking an aggressive stance. So perhaps he's thought about the turns a little bit more in advance than we have.
Well, he really hopes his opponent doesn't have Black Knight, but he does have Argent Commander, another way to deal with it immediately. Second Wrath.
Does Argent Commander deal with this right now?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Well, I mean, he can immediately kill off the taunt, which is the big problem, but you still have to do it with the Houndmaster as well.
You know, if he had this Harvest Golem down, this turn would look a lot better.
But he wouldn't have the Yeti.
But he would be able to use 2 Harvest Golems and then a Wrath and then play the Yeti though. So he'd have a fresh Yeti on the board.
Also true. Also true. Good counterpoint.
I think it's just he played it a little bit too quickly. I think.
What to do?
Well, from here, I think you still can utilize everything. You can even push out the Harvest Golem and still be able to Wrath and draw a card even. And if you do, you kind of want to see what you do with that respect. But you can also just kind of go for a full clear.
Yeah, this is probably his second best option.
You don't like wrathing for an extra card?
I don't think you need the extra card right now. I think you just need board development.
Okay. Okay, I can understand.
I feel
that.
like it's more important because your turns are going to be so aggressive going into the next ones. Like Argent Commander is almost certainly going for face.
Ooh.
Oh wow,
That is a very nice draw. Unleash with the buzzard to kind of remove everything here. Can't really ask for anything better for Alchemixt, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's a really tough one.
He's tilting his head.
He even has multiple options though. Still, he could even play Explosive Trap if he wanted to. I would like to see him save the Explosive Trap for against combo. Oh wow, and he picks up a Houndmaster too.
Nice, not bad. Tracking himself the curve.
Into a Savannah.
I mean, okay, and he is playing Web Spinner, which is cool. Again, not everyone has is fond of the spider that's come out recently, but I personally love.
Wow. And now Harvest Golem is looks a little bit less exciting, but you know it's what you have left.
Certainly, certainly. Now Realz, again, he has a very clear mandate to kind of go and attack with what cards he has left, but Alchemixt has ways to stall for it. He has like the Houndmaster, he has the Explosive Trap as well. So I think Alchemixt is still sitting in a really good position. Not to mention that he's up on cards, which often isn't the case against Druid. A lot of times the Druid is up on cards, and Druid's kind of the Hunter's one top decking trying to end the game.
This is a significant amount of damage from Realz though. I mean, Force of Nature can potentially end this.
Right. Well, you know, he also has the opportunity to just Savage Roar swipe and end the game, assuming Alchemist doesn't able to clear it, which he should be able to based off the cards that he has in his hand. Deadly Shot can do so much work against his Argent Commander. But how much do you feel threatened by being able to die to the combo?
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
So do you need a Houndmaster?
It's tough. I don't mind seeing a Deadly Shot here either.
Take the 50-50?
Well, it's not truly a 50-50 because Unleash the Hounds is still really good afterwards.
But then you can't Houndmaster, so then... I wonder if you can opportunity to use...
If he here's the thing: if he wins the 50-50, like he basically just wins the game. Like if he hits the Argent Commander with Deadly Shot, it's like almost impossible to lose the game from here. But it's just the way that this game is panning out, it's pretty tough to lose the game. Like if your opponent is a big game hunter or Black Knight in this spot, which I think it's like with only 3 cards in his hand, it's hard for him to have one of these cards.
Oh,
jeez, that is a huge Deadly Shot. And
we doubled up Alchemixt, by the way.
Yeah, that's like a nail in the coffin sort of spot.
He's feeling in control. Real's stream has dropped, by the way, but we have double Alchemixt for double the goodness. So Realz is going to come back with us soon. But in the meantime, he's not looking at the best of positions.
Alchemixception.
Sure.
much.
We heard you like Alchemist. Oh, Realz is back. Maybe. All right. Well, apparently there is also a disconnect that we're about to witness. And based off those rules, I think Alchemist ends up taking the game. Sorry to make it anticlimactic, but we're just getting word from the admin right now that there was internet problems for Realz, which is quite unfortunate if this is actually the case. We're about to find out. Yeah, I think so. With this kind of inactivity from Realz and a lack of reaction, I'm almost inclined to believe that this is the case. And that's a really tough loss for Realz right off the bat. Losing his Druid, a very consistent deck, and having internet problems must be very unsettling. Realz is a kind of an emotional player. I'm really sad for him at the moment.
You know what? It's like it's tough because he does have a couple of draws that can end up winning, but this is a lot of damage coming out from Alchemist this next turn. Like Realz actually has to do something about this board right now, or he's just dead.
Yeah,
so
unless he top deck like Keep for the Grove to immediately respond.
It's a disconnect, but I think at the end of the day that Alchemist just ends up winning this game anyway.
Sure. Kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually like if you have to consider the realm of disconnects, it's not that unfortunate of a spot to disconnect because you just win the game. Like your opponent just wins the game so often.
I think with it's actually good.
Yep. So Realz is gonna follow game one. It's on the back of a disconnect, but that likely did not influence the outcome of this match anyway. He's facing down 12 points of damage, and then also lethal if he's not able to finish it.
Whoa.
So, game one's going to be going over to Alchemist, and sort of mid-range Hunter really showing why it's so strong versus Druid.
And go without Realz for a little bit, but he'll still be playing. So let's hop into the game and find out what happens in game number 2. Seems to be like the Paladin of choice, and Alchemist. Well, he does have that web spinner to lead things off, which is a little exciting because you're almost guaranteed to pop that thing against the Paladin.
This card's actually like really cool now that I'm seeing it in action.
Yeah,
because it's kind of a cool novelty to think like, oh, I can draw King Crush if I want. But are we going to see a tournament game where this draws King Crush and ends up being a difference?
Right.
Like, is someone going to get crushed?
The Beast. And you're like, well, I was not anticipating this. And you Iron Beak Owl your own beast so that you can't get the Finkelhorn. That is so crazy.
If there is one card that I don't think that I will ever see happen in tournament play, it's the Finkel Einhorn token that the Beast makes. But there's a way that it can happen now, and it's from Web Spinner because Web Spinner is such a playable card.
Definitely. I'm just looking forward to it. And it's cool. It's funny just because of the range that possibilities that it has. Like at worst, even if it's Angry Chicken, is essentially Web Spinner replacing itself, and you have a way to kind of activate your other beasts with something like Houndmaster or Kill Command.
Yep. So if Realz plays turn 1 Leopardum here, I'd be very surprised.
No, that'd be too bananas, I think. To kind of bring it into it. Realz is capable of playing these aggro decks. He played Zoo for a long time. But I think the Paladin's right up his alley. And he understands how to play it as well from watching his stream a little bit.
Alchemist has already got golden. He's got a golden coin, by the way. So he's already got golden web spinners. Just right out the gate. He's just like, no, I have to have golden cards. Oh, and look at Realz' hand. It is Control Paladin.
Okay, with the sludges.
Sludge Belcher. Haunted Creeper doing a really good job at shutting down this this web spinner, by the way.
Yeah, how annoying is that? You push out the Eagle Horn Bow and deal with it immediately?
Exactly what I was thinking. Is there considerations this Eagle Horn Bow?
I think so. Well, let's see what he draws off the web spinner as well. Maybe that can give him the drop he needs on turn 3. Because most likely Realz is going to have to attack into it to some extent.
Yep. Would be very surprised if Realz chose not to attack this web spinner.
Unless he wants to go for a meta play of some kind where he uses an Acolyte and kind of forces the web spinner to trade into it.
Let me think.
Well,
oh, wow.
Considering this possibility. All right.
Wow.
So he is going to go for that meta play. All right. I mean, he's kind of out of the woods of the Houndmaster play because his opponent won't be on 3 mana.
Yep.
But it is curious, and let's see what Alchemist is able to follow up with this. He doesn't. He's going to obviously kill the 1/1.
That shows how well both of these players know the value of aggression, though, is that Realz knows that this web spinner is going to have to trade into one of his minions to prevent him drawing an extra card off the Acolyte of Pain.
Yep.
And Alchemixt knew that one of these web spinners was likely going to have to attack into. I'm sorry, that one of his opponent's spiders was going to have to attack into the web spinner. And so it's gone to the next level. You've seen one extra point
Where
damage
neither
on each of
player
these
attacks
players.
into it. Yeah.
That's how aggressive
funny.
these players are. They're just always going for that extra point of damage. And that's the difference between winning and losing a lot of these games, especially when you're the aggro player, is every point of damage matters. And that really showing through in this game. I think Alchemist, he's almost like okay with giving his opponent an extra card here, I think. I don't think he's going to attack with his Eaglehorn bow into the Acolyte. I think he's just going to let it go.
You can sneak in one more point of damage.
Oh,
Well, I don't think you're necessarily afraid of something like Blessing of Kings, right? No one's really playing that at the moment.
I don't think so. I think it's important to attack the Acolyte, though, because you've already committed to the explosive trap at this point. So if your opponent runs a token into your web spinner, oh, this could potentially be bad.
Quite hit the mark.
Oh, and Alchemist
Okay.
thinks he made a mistake there. I'm curious.
Huh.
What he did wrong?
Is he trying to bait his opponent, maybe?
Oh, wow.
What if he was trying to sell it as freezing trap or something?
I don't know. He should be putting one of these 1/1s into the spider, I think, though. I think that's a... I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't want to kill the spider. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be avoiding giving your opponent a beast. He has a Kodo! Oh, man!
Oh, he wanted to draw a second card off the Acolyte. That's actually a really heads-up play by Realz. But he wanted the information of what the trap was prior to drawing the second card.
Yeah, I think the mana cost was about inconsequential either way.
Yep.
Okay, well, Alchemist now has kind of curved out really nicely because of this. It's just amusing how that's kind of worked out in his benefit. And I think that's exactly what Blizzard intended when they designed that card.
Web spinner fetched a Kodo. That's so insane. Lotheb's got to be coming down here, right? I don't know. Maybe it's Sludge Belcher. This is another tough spot.
Well, yeah, you're really. I mean, at this stage, you know, if you're Alchemist, you're just hoping for no Kodo, because that's often very played in Paladin decks, especially with Elder Peacekeeper. I think the second best option though is the Sludge for sure. It kind of stalls it.
I like Lotheb too because it prevents your opponent from kill commanding.
I guess
Lotheb
you're
sticks to
right.
the board every time.
I like the fact that it's not very clean though. Your opponent still can't just Houndmaster and expect to push through here.
Wow, these are tough turns for these players.
It's definitely
Alchemist,
not
I
as
think.
clear as it used to be like a week ago.
Yeah, I think Alchemist is definitely losing his bow here.
I think it's fine. A lot of mid-range hunters don't even play two bows. They play one bow, and he's already gotten value off of an explosive trap for an extra charge.
Right.
So it's not like hang on to the bow unless you're trying to lethal something or you're really trying to pick up a good trade.
Oh, he's going to use the Stone Tusk Spore. I like this.
All right. Kind of showing off the value of being able to kind of pressure with Houndmaster, but
Now
how much
there-
is he to a Black Knight?
That's sort of weird. I don't know. See, there I feel like using the bow is... I would rather save it for a minion, I think. I think it's better to just hang on to
For
it.
the inevitable Peacekeeper and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Oh my gosh!
Quality.
Equality is a huge draw right now. That's effectively dealing 10 points of damage.
And he can even keep his Pyromancer alive if he Holy Lights himself. Equality's first. Pyromancer. Holy Light, or even Humility. Something with that
I
respect.
don't even know if he uses Pyromancer. I think he just makes more tokens.
Well,
Or
makes
this
he
guy.
plays
Yeah, this works
Peacekeeper.
too. The equality just... It takes care of the 4-9, which is the major issue right now.
Yeah.
And then he also develops his board, and he gets to keep his Pyromancer, because the Pyromancer can sweep out stuff later between the Humility and the Holy Light. I like this a lot.
Sure, sure.
And Kodo just having to get played as a 3/5, that's not how you want to do it. But he's got to
No.
get something on the board. Look at this. His hand is all combo pieces right now. He's just got to try to get something through.
But I think in the following turns, he's going to be able to be more comfortable with that. But Lotheb also throws a big wrench into those plans.
Lotheb is a big problem here, I think, if you're an Alchemist spot. Because I think one of the things you're relying on is being able to Buzzard Unleash. And if Realz is paying attention, a couple of those cards have been in his hand for a while. So, granted, one of the cards is fresh, but there is that thought in the back of your head too, like what if he draws it? So he needs to consider everything this turn, and he has plenty of time to think about it. And I think when you conclude it, that Lotheb's just the play. It's very strong against Hunter's Mark. I'm sorry, it's very strong against Kill Command here, and it prevents your opponent from using a buzzard combo.
And that allows, I mean, in the future turns as well, you're kind of expecting to drop Tyrion eventually, start putting pressure back.
Right. Wow,
And I think this paves the way for it. Oh, he draws a kill command, just like you mentioned, so good call.
Oh, wow. Wow, Lotheb doing a lot of work. I'm very impressed with this card so far. Everyone knew it was going to be good, but I'm seeing it used in spots where I didn't expect it to be usable, or quite as effective, rather. And it's doing just as much work as it would against pretty much any spell-based deck.
Wow. It's essentially as if Alchemist just passed here.
True Silver Champion. This has got to be a Tyrion turn, right?
It feels like it, because he didn't have any drop whatsoever, right? He didn't have a Savannah High Main. He didn't have a Snapjaw. And I think now that you can get the Tyrion ahead of the curve and be able to respond to any big threat of Hunter, Hunter can't build a board, which means that the Paladin can now develop its board while being able to answer minions. And that's where Paladin truly shines.
Something sort of funny to note is is there any merit to actually taking your tokens off the board by just suiciding them so that way your opponent can't unleash the hounds you more? Because if your opponent didn't do anything last turn, what's their hand?
Right, he'd already used the Hunter's Mark. Maybe it's a kill command or something.
Right. I think
So
there's a lot
I think there is merit to suiciding your tokens.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
Well, conveniently, it's going to work out for Alchemist to draw an extra card. But he's still staring at a lot of damage in response. He can also kill command off this as well.
Yep.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, my.
That's really weird.
Oh, my. He's going to go for a lethal
Oh my
setup.
gosh.
Roy. But then the Tyrion's going to come into play as well. And I think
and
Realz realized he's got Holy Light and Tyrion. So he's got ways to kind of stall the game for a long time.
Wow, that is not the turn I thought this game was going to take.
Whoa. That escalated very quickly, Admirable.
Yep. He's got to think. He's got to think for a long time in this turn because it could be very important to suicide this token. This is something he needs to think about because this is moving into a turn where your opponent has basically screamed at you that they have Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy unleash.
And he's just
Too bad he can't kill his opponent.
Oh, he's 2 damage off.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you do Tyrion though, don't you? Because you already used the kill command, so how many times is he gonna be able to direct damage?
Well, if your opponent has also told you that he has Leroy,
Oh, whoa.
Holy Light and Consecration is basically doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's true. You're putting out the you're basically getting 6 damage right there. But I
Plus
think
5, 11. He's
that
got 13 damage. Oh my gosh.
does he have Timberwolf? No.
He doesn't have Timberwolf in his hand. I don't know if he can Leroy this turn. Wow, he's at 2. He's got to make something happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how he wins this game.
He already used a Hunter's Mark as well, so what can you really draw? Alchemix's gamble did not pay off because the Holy Life has put him outside of range. So now Alchemist in a very tight squeeze where every single thing on the board actually really does matter.
Yep. If he uses his full combo too, by the way, he's out of mana, so he can't even draw into Timberwolf because it costs 9 mana to use his full combo. So he'd have to kill him with any 0-cost spells he draws, and there's no 0-cost spells that can end this. Wow.
Do you just draw then and see what you can get? Try to remove, but then that's playing so passive. You need to draw a Hunter's Mark or bust.
I mean, you can't kill him this way, so you have to. You have to make something
double
happen.
buzzard and unleash.
I don't know if you double buzzard, because if you double buzzard, then you're still basically out of mana. You only have 2 mana left to work with.
He doesn't even have another kill command though. Didn't he use both kill commands? Oh wow, he's just gonna concede. Alchemist is given up for now, but this Hunter's already done its work. It's evened up the series for now for Realz, but Alchemist now can kind of take a niche out what's gonna happen in game number 3. Alchemist does have the choice of class, and he does choose the warrior. picks up a brawl immediately, which could be impactful, just because the state of which he builds it. But I think he wants a faster start than that. But I do think brawl is one of those cards where you definitely want it against Paladin.
I can agree with that.
No, it also gets unstable Ghoul, so let's see how it performs against Paladin early game too.
This is sort of a tough spot here for Realz. Like, how badly does he want to keep True Silver champion?
Well, there's two chances. Obviously, you toss back the first one just because of the efficiency play, but I think keeping one, there is justification for it. There are a lot of minions with 4 health or lower. The Acolytes, the Armor Smiths, even the Unstable Ghoul. The True Silver Champion deals with it pretty efficiently.
Wow, look at this. Now he's thinking about keeping the Sludge Belcher, too. I don't know what you keep here. This is a new experience for me as well.
Well, Kodo is very effective against those minions for the same reason. They have low attack, high health, so you're able to deal with them really effectively. So I think
the Kodo makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
It's all the other stuff that's sort of questionable.
Yeah.
Like, how good is Haunted Creeper in this matchup? That's the sort of thing I don't know. I don't feel like I want to draw Haunted Creeper. I feel like I'd just rather draw True Silver champions.
But then the Haunted Creepers, they're not that great late game for Paladin anyways, and it effectively does the same thing as hero powering for multiple turns. But then the Unstable Ghoul is like that one card which is really annoying for the Haunted Creeper to deal with. It's effectively the big bully in the school playground.
Yep. Alchemixt has got Golden Unstable Ghoul. Does he just have all Golden Nax cards so far?
I mean, why not? Most of these pros, they're playing all the time every day, so they have a lot of dust accumulated, so just craft it immediately.
I like Armor Smith here.
I do. It synergizes very well. But at the same time, you also could deal with... you can deal with the Haunted Creeper ahead of the curve rather than behind, which means if he deals with some way to kind of push and kill, say he coined out a True Silver, then all of a sudden you're not able to deal with the 1/1s as efficiently. I guess you do have Armor Smith, but it's so much cleaner to kill it right afterwards with its Death Rattle to kill off the tokens.
Yeah. Realz is in a tough spot here, too. This is a lot of health your opponent's going to be potentially gaining. I don't know how much longevity Paladin has. Like, I'm curious what Paladin's cap on damage is. Like, is that something that Alchemixt can legitimately get to? Can he just out-life his opponent?
Huh. And, you know, with Warrior has so many decks, so many threats in the deck to kind of keep following it up. I don't know how well toe-to-toe Paladin can go with. But I think, you know, equality also does give this Paladin the sense of longevity, where the longer the game goes and the longer you can go without equality being used, you always have the upper hand in the matchup, in my opinion, control versus control. I mean, that's where Paladin truly shines. Whoa! We'll talk about using it early. Okay. That is really interesting. Yeah, oh my goodness, the Death Rattles don't... The order play made all the difference. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I thought about that right as the equality. I raised an eyebrow, and then I realized it's like, wait a minute, this is actually pretty important. It's like, this is a testament to sort of where Realz is at, where he's thinking in that line, where he's like, how much damage can I actually deal? Like, if this goes on for too long, is my opponent just going to be completely out of reach of me being able to kill him?
Yeah.
So like, he needs to get access from repetitive damage, which is something that's hard enough for him to deal. And I feel like he can fend off a lot of his opponent's attacks, but it's something that he certainly thinks about. Is how much, like, that he has a finite amount of damage that he's able to deal. That's coming into an account.
That was very clever. Again, Blizzard has reworked the Death Rattles to work in the order that they were played, so it's causing a little bit more thinking and hesitation, which is exactly what they want anyways.
Yep. Sludge Belcher over Kodo here is really interesting, and the reason he would save it is because he just used an equality, so he's going to need some sort of hard removal spells on bigger minions.
Yeah,
so
he has the Peacekeeper already.
Yeah, he's looking at clearing out the board and then using this as a hard removal spell on something bigger, something like a Baron Geddon or an Alexstrasza, perhaps.
I like it. I like that kind of alternative keep. Plus, you have, like, a Sludge is still great at stabilizing the board. You tack into this Sludge, though.
I don't think you do. It's tough. It can go either way. I think the biggest argument for attacking is that Whirlwind's a lot weaker from your opponent, because they also have a 1 health minion, but they can just run that into your Sludge Belcher. I don't think it matters too much either way. I think probably not attacking is better. I think you would rather use your Consecrate to clear out the last 2 health, and then follow it up with an attack, as opposed to the other way around.
Sure. It makes sense. Karen feels like a really obvious slam, but he also had opportunity to trade with Cruel Task, but he's going to be passing here, it looks like, too. I think Karen is really important to develop the earlier it is against a less intimidating board, so I can definitely get behind that.
Yep. Ooh, this is another Consecrate.
Let's see. So if he's able to kind of deal with the Sludge Belcher, he can Consecrate and kind of weaken the board a lot, but he also does weaken his own board.
This looks like an attack into the Sludge Belcher and then Consecrate.
Mm-hmm.
And then use the Gnomish to clear up the 1/2. And then the question, I think, is whether or not you make a token or use the Aldor Peacekeeper. And I think that making a token is slightly better. The Sludge Belcher is going to be soaking up an attack from the Karen, so the Bane's going to be going into a 4/5 token. Ooh, that's a backwards order there.
Yeah.
Realz just actually dealt his minion 3 extra
2
damage.
extra damage. Yep.
Yep.
A little bit of misstep, and also opens himself up to a whirlwind play.
Yeah, a little poor sequencing there. Oh, or an unstable goal.
Well, Unstable Goal is a little bit later in that, so he won't be able to collect it immediately. And it also synergizes with the Acolyte, which we've been seeing more and more being played, not only in Warrior, but even in Paladin. So he does have that under his belt.
This feels like a really good turn for Gorehowl, but at the same time, it's kind of not. This is a tough one. Like, how badly do you value your Acolyte here?
For honor.
The Acolyte develops his board as well, versus Gorehow's a reaction to it.
Yeah, it's two very different development routes.
Yep. I kind of like it. I kind of like being able to play the Acolyte here. And you do have the Undead Ghoul to kind of stall out, and almost, in a way, guarantee that you draw 2 cards, unless your opponent's playing, well, unless your opponent chose to do Kodo now.
Realz has got a lot of cards, though. How early are we going to see Tyrion in this game? Is Tyrion potentially played this turn?
Are Warriors still running Black Knight, by the way?
That's a good question.
From your experience?
I feel like when you add in Unstable Ghoul and you add in Sludge Belcher, there's just, frankly, you're losing a lot of ability to have room for it.
Sure.
Ooh, look at this.
So Defender of Argus, that enables him to almost consecrate clear based off how everything's going to pan out from that point on.
Yep. That'd be a really interesting play.
Kodo is like a 50-50 gamble.
Yeah, I don't like Kodo here. You've committed yourself to the plan of keeping Kodo with Aldor Peacekeeper, so I think it's tough to deviate from that at this point, especially when you have alternate plans.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Okay, so he's going to proc this immediately, and might go for the Kodo play immediately? Nah.
Well, Aldor Peacekeeper makes a lot of sense here now, because it puts up the extra taunt, and he drew Humilities to go along with his Kodo.
Okay. That is important to know, so that way he has a combo, even at cheaper minions as well, and you could put up 4/4 on the field, which is nice. Alchemixt picks up and execute. His hand is just really clunky. He's got double Fire War Axe with the Gorehowl. How do you kind of push this all out in the course of a few turns?
I think you got to get the Gorehowl down. This is something else he was considering too. The turn he wanted to Gorehowl is because he did have a Fiery War Axe in his hand.
So in that respect, the Fire War Axe is one of the worst draws.
Yeah, he wants to think about how his future turns pan out, and since he has so much weapon damage, he needs to get his weapon damage active. But it's like attacking a Paladin when they're at 30 isn't really what you want to do, because Guardian of Kings is such a valuable minion when they're able to use it in that regard. Like, it clears up all the incidental damage and gives them a 5/6. So it's counteracting all that work you would be doing by just swinging with your weapons anyway. This has been some strong play from Realz so far.
Yeah, I think so. I really like the way he's been able to disrupt his opponent, think many turns in advance, and, conveniently draw into ways that can improve his play in future turns and even deviate from it.
Yep.
So he's making up game plans as he goes along. Tyrion here feels very easy and obvious, but I also like the idea of being able to respond to your opponent and continue to build up with tokens. Just the more you token, the harder it is for your warrior to kind of deal with. But I think Tyrion's almost
shield
too good to pass
slam.
up.
That's a pretty good one. This looks like he's just going to have to take a lot of damage here, honestly. What other option does he have?
Shield block, shield slam, costs 6 mana with everything.
I really think you want to save shield slam right now. Like you're still at 30 health, or you're at 29 rather. So you're not like uncomfortable using your life total as a resource.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can get that. You can get the
here.
value out of it immediately and
Yeah,
cycle
I don't know
through.
if he needs to. I just don't know if he needs to. Is all.
Okay, that's a fair. It's a fair assessment.
Yeah, because it's such a big swing turn too. Like it surprises your opponent when you're able to shield slam.
Yeah.
This is not like an inappropriate way to deal with it. I mean, this is still a very
that is
fine
the
way to deal
biggest
with
minion,
it.
right?
Oh,
there's no other bigger targets other
Realz
than
has
that.
got Black Knight, that's for sure. Yep. And this is sort of the spot that Alchemixt is okay with being in. Also, is this has just been a 5/6 now. It hasn't really done a lot of work in terms of health totals.
The timing of it is so annoying for Alchemist to deal with as well because the Gorehouse.
This Gorehouse just went to 5.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
exactly. Very
This is
difficult.
why
So the timing of everything has been very precise from Realz and making his opponent's life as miserable as possible.
I guess you just attack the 1/1 in this case. Oh, and that Ashbringer is doing a lot of work. Wow, he really doesn't want to do this. Oh gosh, that hurts. You know, he does have Ysera in hand though. His opponent's got a Humility Kodo combo. That's why Realz, by the way, is cleaning up all of these minions with his Ashbringers. He wants this Kodo Humility combo to stay alive for as long as possible.
Oh, definitely. Don't give it any extra targets. Make it less RNG. That's a nice draw, the Sludge, to just kind of improve the board position.
Yep, he's actually just trying to grind his opponent out of the game at this
Yeah.
point. And this is what you were talking about. The longer this game goes, the more these 1/1s start adding up, and it applies a lot of pressure to your opponent.
Just think of it as like a delayed hero power of 1 damage, but that continues to stack as well. So no matter what minion you put out, the accrued interest that you gain from the Silver Hand recruits are actually very useful.
Gorehouse 1 damage off from being effective again too.
I didn't even think about that. That's so
Realz
annoying.
This
Oh
order
my
from Realz has been very strong so far.
think
And he
Ysera
gets a
will-
Laughing Sisters, but he's going to get a Rude Awakening from this Kodo. And Holy Light, that is a completely irrelevant draw at this point. Realz has very much seized control of this game at this point.
Oh man, see you later,
These
Ysera.
1/1s are just going to keep coming. And I don't even think he needs to attack, but he's going to anyway. I don't even know why he attacks here. I would just keep the weapon back.
Well, he has True Silver, so the idea is you kind of put those damage in. True Silver functions almost the same. There's really not that much of a damage difference when you have tokens out.
Alchemixt has had almost no plays.
Okay.
This has got to be 3 or 4 turns in a row now.
Well, he does have the Alkalite Whirlwind, so now he can make a play. But he's going to need a lot more than that. He gets a Lotheb. I guess you just kind of pick up the
executes.
Laughing Sister.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the execute here because the execute's like his last removal spell. So if his opponent has something like Ragnaros, now you're sitting without a removal spell to Ragnaros now. Like your opponent's potentially got 4 huge minions in their deck, and you still have some life that you can pay.
Sure,
Especially
sure.
because you're armoring up every turn, and you have 2 weapons in your hand, so you got to get something done.
Yeah, it's completely fair. I understand exactly what you're saying. But maybe Alchemist is playing under the assumption that most Paladin decks nowadays don't really run Ragnaros. They usually have everything scaled back, or scaled in front, actually, so that way they're having more mid-rangey creatures. And usually the only threat they have late game is Tyrion, Guardian of Kings, and then they grind you out with other stuff. Really powerful mid-game creatures.
It's a fair assumption.
Huh. Well, not very exciting plays for Alchemist either way.
I
He's
wouldn't
kind
love
of
to be
tossing
either.
something to just die.
Yeah, I would attack this 1/1, I think. I think this is really strong to attack the 1/1. Force your opponent to use the second charge of True Silver and then follow up with Lotheb. And then Lotheb remains safe. And you finally stick a threat to the board that maybe you can get something done with. And he's got a couple more charges in the Gorehowl to keep the tokens at bay, too.
That's hilarious. Just use it to just be the minion killer, or the token killer.
Yep.
All right, well, Realz finally starting to run out of gas until he top decks something like Lay on Hands, which I'm sure he's kind of concerned about right now, making sure that if his opponent has something like Alex and Gromash, then how does he actually respond to something like that?
That could end up being very valuable later on.
Yep. So Alchemist is still certainly not out of it yet, but at the same time, he's kind of got to come up with something quick. See what he cycles closer to. So he gets the Gromosh.
You finish off this. Do you finish off the Harvest Golem?
I mean, it makes Brawl much stronger in the further turns.
Yeah, I think that's what he's working towards. Is he's working towards a big Brawl turn.
Okay, let's see what Realz gets.
He's been stuck with Black Knight for such a long time too.
There's not really targets you're worth Black Knighting other than the sludges.
He just wants the Black Knight.
Oh man, well look at that. The lay on hands at 13
but he can't
mana.
use
Wow. That was the top deck you were looking for, but not like this. Not like this.
He's in a very safe position though. He's not really staring down too much. But Alchemixt, these are the turns he needed. He needed to be able to get into these later stages of the game where he's able to kind of start taking initiative on the board.
That is, you're absolutely right, because if he has something like the Alex combo next turn, it's still going to make it just as difficult to kind of push through. But he does have a lot of healing as well. So he does have the ability to kind of go back virtually to full health.
He's starting to run low on life too, Alchemix is. He's down to 11.
That's true. Do you really like holding on to that Black Knight?
Oh my gosh.
Wait, Sylvanas. Okay.
It's a really good draw right now.
So Sylvanas with the potential to brawl as well. That's a 0-1 Gore Howl, by the way. Isn't that supposed to go away? Isn't this supposed to break?
No, it's the durability. You just can't. You actually can't attack with it at 0.
Oh yeah! Wow, that's actually so funny. Okay, I didn't think about that. Just like, isn't that supposed to go away? But guess not.
Wait, hang on a second. If you heroic strike and attack with a Gore Howl while it's a 0-1, does it go to a -1?
Huh.
I've never been there before.
That's really interesting.
Well, I got something to do later on. I'm gonna figure that out.
Okay, well, Realz now can use his lay on hands, and he has a Harrison Jones, so he's able to kind of take away this Fiery War Axe. I feel like there's no better time to use Equality, though, to kind of remove this kind of board. I think you can justify by kind of passing here, but oh man. Tough call to make.
Wow.
Tough call to make.
I like the aggression. Trading 10 damage for 3 damage.
It's still very unlikely that his opponent is able to kill him the following turn.
Sludge Belcher's a really good pickup too.
Yeah, but they get Black Knighted.
I don't know if that's such a bad thing right now.
Because then it plays into Brawl.
Well, look at how much damage that Alchemix is just putting together. Like, Realz is at 15 right now, and he's facing down. I mean, he's facing down lethal on the board, so he has to make something happen this turn.
Okay, well, he's going to Equality combo immediately. And leave it down to that just 1/2 token, and he does have the Black Knight immediately to deal with it. Oh,
Yeah,
well, I guess
I really like the Holy Light here. Because otherwise he's able to die to something like Inner Rage or Cruel Taskmaster on a Gromish with an Axe
That's
Swing.
a good point. That's a good point.
Yep.
He has at 15 health, exactly. So I think you needed to do that for sure.
Yeah, and that Fiery War Axe. It's in a museum now.
It's in a better place.
This is tough, too.
Second Equality has been used, right? So now do you feel like Gromosh can come out?
Right. Are you worried about Big Game Hunter, or are you worried about something like Outdoor Peacekeeper on this guy?
I mean, BGH was one of those cards being cut because you have other options to kind of improve it. You don't have much time as well. How many cards does Alchemix had? I think he hovered over. He had like 2 cards. Was that correct? I don't remember. I don't know how many cards he has left. He's just going to go for it.
Oh my gosh.
And the Fiery War Axe to kind of put pressure back on his opponent.
And Realz actually doesn't have an answer for this 10-4. Oh my gosh.
Not yet, at least. What if he top decks something important? He has to use Enormous Invader to dig deeper. Oh, he has a Peacekeeper!
That is a huge draw right now. That was his I think it's his only answer left in the deck for it.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
He does have Shield Block, Shield Slam. Oh, man. I think the last card is Alex Straza then. Oh, he doesn't even play Alex.
He doesn't have Alex Straza in his deck.
Okay, so I think he's just out of damage. He's out of damage and he's out of luck. There's nothing else that can help Alchemix. There's just no way for him to win this game. You can't armor smith your opponent to death.
Not here, I don't think you can. My goodness. 2 Gnomish Inventors. 2 Harvest Golems. This deck is just about value now. This is just valued in. I kind of like this deck.
And then Realz has threats to follow it up with Cairn, Lotheb, Black Knight. He saved these cards and really tried to optimize their value, but he's kind of had so much in other departments he didn't need it.
I wonder.
You know, if he had a little bit more armor, he might be able to just shield slam the face.
My
Oh man, and have lethal in that department, that'd be so funny.
I mean, does he have to get this lucky on the brawl?
Oh,
I guess he does.
Oh wait, we don't even know what's gonna happen. It might look
Right?
like the Harvest Golem, but I don't know what it is. Oh, Grom lives. Wow.
Caller. Yeah, there's no way he can deal enough damage in time. This is 2 a turn, and he's just gonna fatigue out before then.
Not with True Silver in play. I think Realz is just gonna play the very slow waiting game and let your opponent run out of damage. And Alchemixt is out of Ox. He's out of air.
Yep. He's nothing left. And that's going to be game 2 over to Realz now. Really touting how powerful Paladin can be with all of these value cards.
He's like to prove you wrong. You were using the basic only cards for Nax Ramus. That was really ballsy of you, man.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
That was
It
fun.
gives you a chance to exploit the AI. Right into mulligans. Alchemist, Shaman, he's on his last leg. And Realz. What do you call this? What do you call this Paladin deck? I don't know how to, like, what do you refer to it as? Do you just call it a Paladin deck? That seems so boring. There's got to be something less boring than that.
Surely there's somebody that kind of pioneered this deck that you can kind of attribute it to. Other than that, it's just a straight up control paladin. That's essentially what it is at its core. All you do is remove and stall as long as you can. Play the late game threats.
Wow, look at Lotheb staying in the hand. That's very interesting. Is
What,
Lotheb
Lotheb?
that good?
Against Shaman, I feel like it makes total sense. You can disrupt so many important turns with removals and feral spirits and whatnot. On the flip side, by the way, how good is Lotheb when you play something like feral spirits? Oh man, that's really good.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Another Argent Squire. Something that you've seen out of some of these Shaman decks is that they'll run 1 Argent Squire. So if something to consider is if Alchemixt has put Egg into this deck, as a lot of people have, you'll see a lot more early game minions. Like Haunted Creeper isn't surprised to be coming out. 2 Argent Squires, I think, is indicative of the fact that he's running Eggs and Flame Tongue Totems. Taking a little bit more of an aggressive stance. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think Realz just continues to use hero power here. I don't really see a reason for much else.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slap fight in the beginning. Nothing too threatening. I think you're also kind of just waiting out to see what your opponent's doing, because they both have the ability to react to each other very well. Normally, what's in the deck is able to respond to each other very easily.
Yep. Another strange turn. These turns have been really weird early on. I think it's pretty rare that you see this sort of stuff. Like, how important is it to keep toteming? And at the same time, how important is it to develop your board? Do you trade this shield in for the 1/1?
Yeah, you know, how afraid are you of just getting True Silvered and outvalued?
Yeah.
I fight.
Do you want him to kind of bust through and play more efficiently? Do you value your Divine Shield? These are all the decisions which, I mean, control players actually froth over. That's why Hearthstone can be skill game if you remove aggro. That was my Hearthstone nerd voice. I don't know. I don't know how else to do it.
I think it was a pretty solid one. You got the point across.
Just
really
remove
well.
all the damage spell, then you have such good, intelligent decision-making game.
I want to see that guy make a guide, by the way. What's that guy's name too? Like what?
I don't know. It's like
so hard to
I'd be
put a face with that. It's so hard to put a name with that voice.
I don't know. Thatcher, Eugene, something like that. I'm really
Thatcher.
sorry to all the people who are actually named that. If you,
Hey,
if
what's
you
up, guys? This is Chet. I'm here with my buddy Chad and Theodore. Don't get over Thatcher's guide. Defender of Argus is pretty aggressive here, but I like it. It's you're forcing your opponent to take a stance on all these minions, and so that way you can scale into your Sludge Belcher turns.
I think so. Like, you can't really expect to gain too much value all the time from the Defender. But I also really like the Defender in the Paladin deck because, for the same reasons as the Shaman, you have ways to kind of boost your board. It makes sense. If you're playing the trading game, it allows you to do cool stuff. In fact, there's also even cool ways to combo it with Equality in case you want Equality and then do something cool. And then bolster your ranks. But now these guys are just jockeying for position, systematically moving the board. And sure, he plays into something like Consecration, but I think he did a good job removing it. Plus, he got unbound value immediately by getting Overload.
Looking at these boards and the way these games have been panning out, have we seen a turn where turn 5 Sludge Belcher has been bad?
Don't think so. I don't think
This card is... This card seems monstrous.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what it is. It's a monster, 3/5, and it does a lot of good work, and it stalls your opponent out. Excuse me.
Ooh, Alec here.
And I guess we get to see like the head-on battle of the which actually affected the board a little bit more with the Azure Drake versus the Belcher.
It feels
That's
to
what
me
it's
like
replacing
now
in
it's
most
Belcher.
decks.
Yep.
The
Feels like
Belcher
it's
is taking care of the 5-card spot where most classes struggle with, and the Azure Drake was just kind of convenient. Now, Shaman is a deck, or a class rather, that benefits off the Azure Drake a lot more than just simply its body and its mana cost. But at the same time, I kind of have to imagine that, you know, Sludge Belcher is just still really effective for other classes relative to what it gives.
There's two things that are coming into effect here, too, is that a lot of 5-drops, they give your opponent initiative and the ability to either attack you or attack your minions, but Sludge Belcher isn't granting your opponent that option. They have to attack Sludge Belcher. So it's even choking out your opponent's option to take a very aggressive stance and just start creating tension on the board and then attacking your life.
Huh.
It's like it's forcing your opponent to make plays that they usually don't have to make.
Yeah, and that 5 health is so clutch on the Belcher too. Just like how annoying it is for everything.
This guy is
You
this guy's
can't
really good.
spell power. I mean, now granted, there is a way to deal with it immediately with the Fire Elemental, or even the Hex, if you want to save the Fire Elemental. But I like putting out pressure on the board. Sure, you don't want to extend into Equality, but I mean, I just like building it immediately. Yeah, almost too good to pass up.
So he's finding himself in a rough spot, but imagine if those were just Azure Drakes instead. He would just be like he'd just be almost dead.
Okay.
Oh wow, that Kodo is a really important draw right now.
Oh, did you just top deck that? Oh man.
Yes, he did.
Very nice.
That challenges the Azure Drake too.
Okay, but that gives him the ability to just lightning bolt in response for 5 damage.
Wow.
Whoa.
Big draws being exchanged here.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it's coming out with Alchemixt on top. 9 points of damage on the board.
it's going to come out to Realz' need in a way to kind of stabilize his board once again.
Yep, and Realz has got to be worried now because he hasn't seen a Hex from his opponent either. True Silver Champion, though, is going to be able to start cleaning things up.
It's answer after answer. Back and forth between these two guys. Saves his Harvest Golem.
I'm kind of curious about that. I guess he intends to attack the Azure Drake next turn anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense because otherwise he would just trade the shield and 2 of his Azure Drake's health.
It makes more sense. Yeah, it makes more sense the way you kind of put that because
If Realz had something like a Holy Light in his hand, you might have seen a different play because then he would be able to Wild Pyromancer and Holy Light to clear out the Drake afterwards.
True. I think with the low card count at the moment, he needs to play as efficiently as possible. You lose that opportunity cost of missing out on the hero token, which can allows you to just continue to build a board and have something in play. Maybe that can remove the Divine Shield rather than using the 2/1 damage golem as a response.
How long should Alchemix be willing to hold this Blood Mage Thalnos?
I don't feel like he's in like a serious case where he needs to card draw though. Like I feel like having the ability to do a really good Lightning Storm or whatever you draw off the top, like Earthshock, is really important too.
It's tough. I think I'd rather have the card. I think an average card right now is better than the possibility of one spell power later.
I don't think it's a very clear cut thing, but I do think there is merit to retaining it. I think when you do have Valkyria though, if you get closer to something like Rockbiter, you feel really confident about the game.
That too.
So I think drawing close to it is nice.
Realz is in another tough spot. Does he attack this Unbound before it starts getting out of control? Or does he take out this Azure Drake now?
Well, he's going to draw to find out the answer. That Holy Light allows for things to be a little bit easier, though. You can clear a lot of these small 1/1s.
He continues to be in tough spots, too. I think at this point, you got to let the Azure Drake stay.
I think the Unbound represents way too much threat.
I agree.
Sure. The Azure Drakes are ready to collect. I mean, if you leave the Azure Drake, then it just kills the No Mission Adventure. Actually, either way, it's going to happen because of the Pyromancer.
Right.
So I think in that respect, yeah, just kill off the Unbound.
Yeah, if your opponent follows this with the Feral Spirits, you're going to really be hating your life. Uh-oh. Ugh. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah, it's not very clear. But I think the Unbound, he can kind of sleep a little bit safer because it's just that what if the Unbound gets out of control and you're not able to deal with it, and then you just run out of ways to deal the damage effectively. Paladin wants to get ahead on board, but he's been playing a little bit reactive, and Alchemist has gotten what he wants. He top decks a Fire Elemental.
Oh my gosh. I honestly don't think Lightning Storm's that bad here.
Sure, why not? Clear the board. Build it up. Make it hard for your opponent to come back. Still have mana to allocate the following turn as well.
God, these are still more tough spots, though. Because then, do you play the Fire Elemental now? Do you just dome him? I think you just dome him.
What is he at, life count-wise? Yeah, I think so.
That's going to drop him to 18. So
yeah.
610. This is 16 points of damage right here. With this and the Alakir. So Realz has got a pretty clear-cut drop here, I think. But it doesn't feel like he's very happy about it.
No. Especially if he has
head
hexes as well.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be really falling behind now. Oh, gosh.
I think this is where the Shaman... Oh, Feral Spirits in a very tight spot. Like, Alchemist is under no threat whatsoever, so it's not like the Feral Spirits needed to come out.
Right.
On the opposite end, too, there is a way that if you save these Feral Spirits and you kind of take your time removing the board and you get in your damage, Alakir and Flame Tongue come out in the following turn for 12 damage burst, assuming you have a minion out.
Yep.
So how do you kind of plan this so that you're able to lethal the following turn?
It's really tough. How much is he worried about equality right now? Is that like a thought in his mind? Your opponent's only got 2 cards? Like, is he thinking about just attacking his opponent for 14 and then letting these wolves soak up damage? And then trying to finish with Alakir? Because if he uses Feral Spirit now and places the Flame Tongue in between his 2 active minions, that's 14 to the face. So it's going to drop your opponent to 10, and then the Flame Tongue plus Alakir would be lethal.
Yeah. Well, he's going to go for the best of both worlds here.
All right, so he's going for the trade. I think trading is probably better, but I think there is some consideration to be made on the other end.
Sure. And when
time
you're
is
this close, I think you don't want to throw away a lead at all.
The only thing I think he's concerned with this way is that the Fire Elemental is a little bit more vulnerable to big game hunting here, but I don't think it's like a major concern of his.
No. And Realz is also holding out to the hope that maybe, just maybe, he has a Doomhammer and he can Harrison Jones back in, but that's going to do it for game number 4. Alchemist should be able to take it on his Alakir.
Unless for some reason he can't count, or like an earthquake or a tsunami happens.
Or a DC.
That's about the only way that Realz is getting out of this one.
Ooh, Doomhammer.
Yep, no reason to show that either.
Unfortunately, it came out a little bit too late for Realz, as he would have loved to collect value and pull back in the card count. But I think the Paladin deck has certainly pulled its weight. It's won 2 games for Realz, and now he's going to go back to his last deck.
I agree with you. If Alchemist can kind of stick to his guns and make the right prediction, it can be kind of tough, but...
It's the hand lock.
You have to account for the fact that your opponent could be playing Zoo. It's something that you have to think about.
Sure,
if your
so then Lightning Storm's a keep.
Right, but Lightning Storm's not so good versus hand lock.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then Hex, that is really difficult, the 50-50.
I think Hex is at least keepable versus Zoo. That's not the worst. The worst one is the Lightning Storm, and whether or not this card gets stranded in your hand versus hand lock, or whether or not it's actually a valuable card. Wow, it looks like he's just going to trust his read, too. Wow, that's a strong play.
Very nice. And he has Earthshock.
That's a pretty good hand.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Realz
jeez.
top decks the Twilight Drake and
Yeah,
Waz.
these are-
Normally very nice. Oh my god. Realz is
These
going
are-
for ultimate mind games.
Yeah, these are reverse Earthshocks.
Check this out, check this out. So Realz is taking his time, making it seem like he may have gotten a bad draw with Warlock. So he's still giving this mystery of whether or not it's the zoo. But I think this life tap will shatter all of that. But it's cool. All these little small things that they're paying attention to try to give him an edge. You never know. You never know.
Tough. Ooh, Haunted Creeper. It's curving out really well. I'm not sure how much that matters in this matchup as much as the removal spells matter. The removal spells matter more than anything else in this matchup, I think.
Sure. But it doesn't also hurt to build up your board, and then if you draw into the Flame Tongue, as opposed to having just all the removal, that also
Right.
gives you another option.
So the question there is how important toteming is versus the Haunted Creeper. Because the totem will allow you to, on turn 4, play a totem and the Haunted Creeper. And his hand doesn't have any action otherwise. So that's like a totally reasonable assumption to be in.
Well,
Barrel Spirits would be a really aggressive play here, but I'm not going to say that I mind that. I think
Yeah.
it's a pretty smart decision, honestly.
you're
His hand
prepared
is a-
for any 4-drop, essentially.
Right, his hand is strong enough that he can take these aggressive stances.
Well,
This isn't something he feels like he has to conserve with. Ooh, Alchemixt is sort of a card that I wouldn't expect to see, given how you have to fit in
Huh.
all things like Sludge Belchers.
yeah. I mean,
That
this
was
Twilight Drake
painful.
does hurt, but he does have something of a win condition.
Oh my gosh, and he also drew Doomhammer. Wait a minute.
Wait.
10? Oh my gosh, this could
Next
potentially
turn
be
is
lethal
lethal?
next turn.
What? No,
it's not gonna be-
well, he
Sludge
does have
Belcher's
the Sludge
gonna come down.
Belcher. But
But-
damn, that would have been a crazy way to end the game.
Oh my gosh, he drew a second Hex? I don't think that Realz is very safe here at all. Looks bad, like really bad news for Realz.
He needs a way to remove these minions, and while being able to put up his own, basically stop any kind of damage coming in through. But how is he supposed to tell?
I don't think he can, and I think it's just the power that Shaman has in this matchup. Is that when it draws well, it does not allow the handlock the liberty to do what it wants to do. I think you have to Hex here. I mean, the Hex is effectively 7 points of damage that you're dealing. Or 6 points of damage, rather. And then here's the question is, how low do you put your opponent at? Because you're already threatening lethal. So you just don't want your opponent to be able to play Molten Giant and then taunt it. So Realz is going into 6 mana next turn, so you kind of like want your opponent at the 15 mark. 15 actually would just be perfect. So at 14, he's going to leave it right there. He's forcing his opponent to have a way to taunt up, clear the board, or have Sun Fury, Molten Giant. But at the same time, he wants to consider if this board gets swept, can he just Doomhammer and Rockbiter and kill his opponent? So there's merit to take him to 12 as well. This is a
I
really
think-
tough spot.
I think it's okay because if he Hellfires as well, he puts himself within range, assuming
Yep.
some things live. While Rio
Oh
top decks
gosh.
Lothab, and that's gonna be it. Just
No,
like
it's going to
that.
save him for a turn. No, it's going to save him for a turn. 'cause
Oh,
he
the
can't Rockbiter
Doomhammer.
now.
The Doomhammer, that's right. The Rockbiter doesn't. Oh, wow.
A
Okay.
6-point lightning bolt. Oh, this might just be the push turn now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got 10 points of damage. Yeah, I think you just make the push here.
Okay, so you have lightning bolts to kind of follow up to potentially lethal.
What?
I think he's gonna take his opponent to 4. Yep.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I agree too.
at this
Wow.
stage, the entire Owners of Burden is back on Realz. And not only does he have to deal with everything else on the board, he has to also worry about what's in the hand of his
He's only got
opponent.
7 mana. I don't think he can live through this.
I'm looking for an alternative of some way. Can he use Shadow Flame to the best of his ability? Try to draw it out. But looks like he's just going to taunt up as much as possible. He loses power.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's fine.
That's
He
gonna do it.
gets 2 turns, but it won't matter
Wow.
because the
On
Rock
the
Biter's
back.
going to come out. Double Rock Biter. Why not? Why not?
He's looking for a way to kill him with the Doomhammer Rock Fighters.
Oh my gosh.
Guide me.
You can.
Well,
but at the same
Elephant's
time, you
got
don't
it.
have to. 2 out of 10. That's what I give it to the BM.
10. Wow.
Not even 1 out of 10. That was pretty weak. But you know what? It's exacties for lead.